Gen Z is the best generation, and here's why. I know that's a bold statement, all right? I know that's a bold statement, but just hear me out, all right? Don't click off yet. Hear me out. Why are we the best generation? Like, we didn't invent texting people. We weren't the ones that started all this. This happened like over thousands of years of Earth history, or of human history. Like, how did we get to that point? Isn't it the oldest generations are the best generations because they started everything out? So today I'm going to be covering why Gen Z, at least in my opinion, is the best generation ever. Now, some of you guys may think that's extremely controversial, right? Like, we had so many great scientists, and now we have like people just getting on my 600-pound life eating McDonald's all day, right? Like, how are we the best generation if we have people like that? Obviously, there's going to be exceptions in every generation, like Albert Einstein, amazing scientist in the past, and we have William Shakespeare, amazing Englishman, poet, I don't know what to call him. We have these amazing people throughout history. But why is Gen Z so important? Why is Gen Z so influential for future life? One of the first things I wanted to talk about was how media has grown exponentially over the past few hundred years, right? Media really wasn't a word around 1,000 years ago, or it wasn't really an outlet. You had word of mouth stories going by tribes and towns and villages, right? But there was no like media. Maybe people wrote letters to each other and spread it across the town or whatever. Mainstream media didn't happen until newspapers came into the picture. That was like the first mainstream media that you could get across the whole nation. And of course, depending on what you believe in, the earth has been around for 2,000, 4,000, 4 billion years, right? But humanity, as we know it, has been around for around like 4,000 years. Whenever we've actually became like developed humans, we could think for ourselves and make cities and stuff, right? So we'll go with the 4,000 years. So if we go back 4,000 years to 2000 BC, we got Romans running around. We got, well, maybe not Romans at the time, but we got ancient civilizations, right? We got the Egyptians, we got all those cool people, right? They did great things for us, you know? They figured out how the stars work a little bit. They figured out some math. Actually, I hate whoever figured out math. We have thousands of years of history built behind us to why we're at this point right now. But as I was already saying earlier, if we just take it back to 1,000 years ago, all right? People could not send messages to each other across the ocean without physically traveling across the ocean. That was just not how it worked. So for people that lived in Asia, in order to contact people in Europe, you had to send somebody via foot or on a boat around Africa, or however method they did it. But regardless, it took months of time to just get messages across back and forth. There could be translation errors. All these things happen, right? So we finally end up getting mainstream media with newspapers. Now, newspapers came into the US in like the 17th to 18th century whenever the printing press became cheaper, and whenever they started figuring out to put advertisements in newspapers, that's when it became more available to all people in America at that time. So I guess it was around the 18th century, 19th century when it started becoming mainstream, right? So we moved on from having to take boats back and forth to we can ship out newspapers in different languages and stuff and distribute information to larger amounts of people, right? But in a sense, that still took a very long time, right? To still travel back and forth across an ocean with risks of death, with risks of illness, with translation errors, like all these big issues that happened, and we slowly start getting a little better every few decades. So we got newspapers starting out. We figure out how to do Morse code across the ocean. Crazy advancement right there. So we can communicate Morse code across the ocean. Then, you know, we figure out how to do a little bit of radio action, all right? We figure out how to send radio signals from America to Europe. But this is all, keep in mind, over the course of like decades and upon decades. And we finally get to the point where we can communicate efficient, audible radio waves to each other across oceans. We finally get to that point. But how long did that take from going to newspapers to radio? That took like 400 years. We got televisions and broadcasting and less than like 40 years after all that. That rate between like advancement of technology is like 10 times more than what it used to be. And now we got phones, we got OnlyFans, we got everything. And it took like barely any time at all. It took like less than 100 years to grow like 100 times more. So why did I just ramble? Why did I just yap on about that? Well, luckily for Gen Z, right, we get the best of basically all worlds. When we were growing up, we didn't have super advanced technology as we do today. It was still advanced, obviously, but we got to still enjoy like being outside a little bit. We still got to enjoy being on the internet a little bit when we were younger. We had like the best of the end of the 20th century going into the 21st century, right? Almost all of Gen Z is entering adulthood. We're in that age range where we can take advantage of everything that's been made for us already, right? So everybody in the past has created all these amazing things for us to use, but Gen Z is going to be the generation to take all that stuff and further it exponentially, like how it was done in the past. But only this time the rate is going to be even higher because we're on that graph. We're on that exponential growth graph. And so why am I up here saying like we're the best if we didn't do anything? Take a look back in the 20th century, the 19th century in America, right? Becoming an entrepreneur was not a normal career path, right? You either had to go to college, you had to work for your family, you had to do all these things that your society or your families taught you to do. Look where we're at right now. I'm sitting in front of 2 cameras talking to nobody, yet the world is gonna hear it. Who's judging me? No one's judging me. Everyone supports it. Now, how is that possible? How do we go from unacceptable, unimaginable job paths, right, to these crazy possibilities we have right now in this world? That goes back into why Gen Z has everything that we have, right? With all the information and knowledge and power that we've been passed down generations through generations, we now have the ability to take that, turn it into a positive thing. We have the ability to turn OnlyFans into a job. We have the ability to, I don't know, sell our feet pics online, like all these things, right? I'm not saying they're good or bad. I'm just saying it's possible. We're the most powerful generation, right? We have the whole world in our fingertips, but sometimes we don't see it like that. Sometimes we're stuck up on like, oh, I had a bad day today. Man, nothing's ever gonna go my way, right? Like, I can't do anything to change this, when that's really not the case, right? We have all this technology, all this power to influence, to create, to make careers out of, to better the world way more than any generation before us has. And I get that there's way more people in the world now, so it is a lot easier to get 100 million people following you than it was 100 years ago. But just the sheer power and influence that media has brought Gen Z, and Gen Z's ability to capitalize on media makes us the most powerful generation. I'm gonna say that a lot during this podcast because I have a lot of different points. I want to inspire other Gen Z people to take advantage of and realize your true potentials in this generation. I want people to argue with me. I want people to tell me why I'm wrong, because obviously I could be wrong, I could be wrong, but I'm just here stating how I feel. And something that's really interesting too is as we started to slowly break out of like, we have to do what our family tells us to do, we have to follow this set path in life. The father of television, all right, his name was Philo Farnsworth. He invented television. At the time, they were trying to figure out a mechanism to make television work without having to individually coordinate every single television in the world. They wanted it to have one synchronous system. And for a science fair project, this dude, Philo Farnsworth, he created television. He created it with like digital imagery, which was different than what they were using before, which was like a Nipkow disc or something where it would just rotate lenses. Well, now he was making something that was synchronous and could easily make television possible. Like people could watch, and all TVs were gonna be the exact same, so you didn't have to individually coordinate them. A dude in high school figured that out at that time, which is rare like for that time period, because you were either like working for your parents or going to school, getting professional jobs. But this dude Philo, he just casually creates television for a science fair project in high school, right? But what's sad about that is I believe CBS or NBC, they came all the way from New York, and this dude was living in California. They just yoinked his invention, they just stole it, and then they patented it so he couldn't use it anymore. And he spent the rest of his life trying to figure out, how do I get this invention back? But he was the original like founder of television, and there was people before him that created inventions, but his was like the real first working television that could actually be used. But my point off that is, like, we started slowly getting more acceptable with like creating our own things and changing the world, revolutionizing the world at a younger age. And now you have people on TikTok that are like 13 years old that are making bags. Lil Tay's back, right? She making bank, bro. She making bank. And she's only like 16 or something, right? It's so crazy how our generation can do all the things that have been done in the past hundreds of times faster than it was ever done before. Like, to communicate a message, it takes seconds. Thousands of years ago, months, years to send messages to people. You want to gain a following? Oh, you could do that in like a month or two. Now, that rather than you have to go be a political science major, you got to go become a leader in a country. You don't need to do any of that anymore. You can have a voice just solely off social media. I think some good examples of that are people like Mr. Beast, Tommy Innit, Emma Chamberlain, Dixie D'Amelio, even like rappers like Lil Tecca. We have people making films on YouTube that are not even adults yet. We have people making music for mass media that aren't even adults yet. We have so many influences in the world just because of all of the power and knowledge that we hold at our fingertips. But yeah, the power to influence large masses of people is so much easier now. If you even look at Kai Cenat, he's put on a story that he's gonna go have a giveaway in New York, and you know what happened? Thousands of people showed up at New York at the same exact time, and that's pretty normal. But in a specific place, like dozens of thousands of people showing up, not even the police could take care of that situation, and it got so reckless, so out of hand, that people were destroying things, following Kai in his van, like all these crazy things, just because some dude on the internet posted a video. Tell me when this has happened past times. This has never ever happened before. But this was over the course of like a day, right? He's just like, show up and boom. And that's just one person. That's just one example. And we have 8 billion people in the world now. You know how much more that can be amplified? How many more people can be influenced and change the world today than ever? That's an insane amount of people. There was that one girl that was like trying to change climate change like a few years ago. She got really popular in the news and everything, had some TED Talks and stuff, but she genuinely made like a big impact. And she wasn't even an adult yet. She was still like in her teenage years. Insane to see like how much power we truly have, right? And that's something that I want to really emphasize to everyone listening right now. Don't take our time for granted. We have technology that wouldn't have even been thought of hundreds of years ago. I keep bringing up OnlyFans, but OnlyFans is such a good example because who would have thought of that? Why is that a thing? But OnlyFans is such a good example, right? You can make money now doing basically anything. You can bring an audience doing anything. There's people on YouTube that probably sew for a living, and there's probably hundreds of thousands of grandmas that watch that every day. It's part of their routine, right? Isn't that just such a crazy thing? A lot of people just feel like they are so helpless in this world though, or no one else is like them, or they have no power in this world. From a political standpoint, maybe not as much, but let's just talk in like a more social aspect, a more like emotional and physical aspect. We all have the power to change things. If you wanted to do that 100 years ago, you had to go to a school, you had to become a lawyer, you had to change the law just like that. Now we can basically do really whatever we want, and that is so powerful. If you were ever sad before, you had to go pay a lot of money for a therapist that probably wasn't even telling you the right information because not enough scientific data was out yet, and no one really cared about mental health back then too. But now we just have so many tools to make us stronger people, make us better people. In order to just like emphasize even more like how much we're changing the world and how many things are accessible to us, I was looking online for like some inventions that Japan has made recently, because you know all over the world we're all in different places, right? In the United States, we're pretty advanced. We're first world country. We have a lot of privilege, I would say, a lot of good things happening for us. But in places in African countries or in certain Middle Eastern countries, right, they're not as technologically advanced. If anyone saw the new Mr. Beast video, they didn't even have like working computers in certain African countries, or they had like really outdated computers. We shouldn't even be complaining about our iPhones not working. Like they don't even have working technology and stuff. In places like Japan, however, they have some crazy inventions, and I wanted to show you guys some of the ones I found that were really interesting. I found it on this website. I'll link it in the description, hopefully, called rnet.com. All right, so the first invention that we have here, I guess it's not really an invention, but something more advanced they have is a catwalk robot. All right, I'll put a picture on the screen. This is a human. This is a human. There's no way this is a robot, but it looks so real. It looks so, that's like terrifying, like how real that is. So it says, looking sterilely and creepily human, the robot, it may have a future in show business. So it has weight, body movements, characteristics very similar to humans. But these are supposed to be like representing young Japanese females. So that way, whenever they need models for companies or whatever, they don't have to worry about finding the perfect girl to put on a modeling act, right? Or they don't have to worry about the dangers that come with being like a girl over there and trying to put yourself out like that. They're just making robots so they can advertise their companies like that instead. So they're taking a little bit of workload off themselves already, right? That's something that is a huge improvement, I guess, for them, because they have so many advertisements and people over there. This next invention is wild. I have never heard of anything like this. I didn't even think about this before. This is called Mimi Switch. Whenever you want to change music in your earbuds, or you want to change something on your screen, instead of like going to touch your phone or like move your headphones around, you can just use facial expressions to change the song that's on, or like the whatever's on your screen. So you can like, hey yo, and then you'll go on my YouTube channel. Like, we need that right now. I need more people to get on here. So yeah, you can like wink, you can smile, and it'll change like certain things about whatever technology is plugged in. They're still working on it right now. I mean, that's actually a pretty smart idea. I mean, we're just getting lazier and lazier, but we're getting smarter and smarter at the same time. This next invention I found is wild. This is the most wild invention I've ever seen. It's called USB humping dog. It's basically just USB ports with dogs that are like humping out the USB port. It's like $10 to $20, but still, this is a wild invention. I only wanted to put it on here just because it looks so weird. I don't think this is really advanced, but something that is advanced though is this little like vertical Segway that Japan is creating right now. It's called a Honda U3X. So basically, you know how on Segways you have to like stand up with the handle and it's really heavy and really expensive? Well, in Japan, they're making an electric unicycle that weighs 22 pounds, moves 3.7 miles per hour. Oh, that's slow. I can walk faster than that. And it allows you to go wherever you want. I guess you just have to hold balance. That looks extremely hard to ride. Pause on that. Yeah, basically it's a really lightweight thing. So if you want to get around faster, I guess maybe they're going to work on boosting the speed soon. Oh, the handles are inside the Segway. So you're like sitting on it and then you hold the thing underneath you, I guess. But this is just something really crazy too, because it's also super lightweight and you can take it really anywhere. And the last one I have is Iron Man. They made a whole Iron Man suit that is fully functioning. It adds, apparently, if you're a weak little noodle, if you're Light Yagami from Death Note, right? You're going to turn your skinny body to from a 2 strength power to a 10. If you're on that boxing machine in an arcade, you're going from 100 to 1,000 easy. It says that it boosts your strength by like 5 times more. And it's apparently currently used by people with disabilities, weak muscles, and it's for indoor use only. So we're making real superheroes out here. Just our generation is advancing so fast technologically. We have the most power than any generation before us, which is crazy to think about. Like, that may seem super simple to some people. Like, oh, obviously, like, we have the internet, we have phones or whatever. It's us who are also causing the change, right? We're capitalizing on our opportunities to make all these things happen so much faster than they ever would without our help. As technology is growing, we're growing with it, and we're becoming smarter and smarter. To learn how to become a doctor like 100 years ago, you had to go to school for dozens of years, be in debt for a very long time. Man, there's like Quizlet doctors now. You can get on Quizlet and learn how to be a doctor, which if that ever okay, that is something I'm really scared of, by the way. If you ever become a doctor and you use Quizlet to get through school, please do never do surgery on me, all right? Y'all are going to be in like the operating room looking at Quizlet like, how do I do heart surgery? Please don't ever do surgery on me if you have that. But now we can learn that we can learn any piece of information basically in like seconds, right? Simple facts and stuff. Not saying like how to grow how to be a doctor in like 10 seconds. Obviously it's not going to work, but it's so much easier now and so much better now. And we have like online school, we have everything to help us become even stronger and more knowledgeable people than ever before. They already tried doing like online school in the 20th century, like 100 years ago. Whenever they first started inventing television, colleges were like, oh, we're just going to put our school on television, right? Because then people don't need to come to campus anymore. We don't need to use all this janitor, all this custodian work. We just need to run like a radio station or our TV show. It just didn't work back then though, because it was so expensive to maintain like their video production, but we made that happen, right? We made that possible. I am recording semi-professionally with equipment that was either free or given to me. I didn't buy any of this equipment I have right now, yet I'm still uploading to the internet, yet I'm still connecting to many different people across the world, getting my point across, bringing inspiration just from cheap equipment, free equipment that would have never been possible before. That in a sense brings us power, right? Because following is power, clout is power, and money is power. What are the three things that every Gen Z person is looking for right now? We got clout, fame, and power. Well, I guess clout and fame are the same. Clout and fame. Everyone's looking for clout and fame, right? And that is the easiest to do right now. And that brings the most amount of power. Because look at presidential elections. Who usually wins? The people that have the best campaigning, best advertising. Okay, look at the media. Who usually gets the most popular? All right, people that have good personalities, that also have good advertising, that have good marketing, all that stuff, right? That's how we grow. And that is easier than ever before, which then brings us power. Whenever Minecraft YouTubers, there's this joke going around, like whenever Minecraft YouTubers get successful, they start doing really bad things. I don't want to say what they do, but you know what they do if you know. All right, call me Carson Levels. Not everybody uses it for good necessarily, but that just shows how powerful we are. Kid President, that dude was telling us facts back in the day, all right? He had power on all the kids watching his channel. The little kids right now listening to Skibbity Toilet and Ohio memes or whatever they're listening to right now, like whoever's making that stuff is powerful. They're influencing the next generation of people. Water break! So when newspapers were also first starting, people couldn't buy them at first. And it wasn't just because they were super expensive. That was part of it. Another part was that no one had the time to actually sit down and read a newspaper, right? All your time had to go to your business or like your farm work and all those things. So no one had time to even consume media that much. Look at us right now. You're watching a 1 hour podcast. Probably what else do you have to do for the rest of the day? You probably don't got to do a whole lot, right? Like you probably are just enjoying your day off, relaxing. Did they have that like 200 or 300 years ago? No. I mean, they did, but they rarely ever had that. But now we just have even more time to consume media, right? So instead of putting all this time into working, we can just spend it on relaxation. We could spend it on learning more things. We can spend it on so many different things that create us to be stronger and better people. It's so important for us to keep consuming media at a reasonable rate, and so important for us to create things, so important for ourselves to get out there, because the world, there's so many people in this world right now who feel lost, who feel like they have nobody to connect to. And that's like a big reason I'm doing this right now, right? Like I want to be able to connect to more people like me. I want to be able to spread my message across to people who need to hear it. And that is so important and valuable that everybody should be taking advantage of at this point. And a lot of people are, because like I was saying earlier, we have all these young filmmakers and we have all these people making really powerful music and just a lot of mainstream media, a lot of younger people in our generation doing that, We have lots of tight-knit communities just across multiple social media platforms, and that's really good to have right now because of how the past generations were and how white-collar, blue-collar jobs were just seen as like the only option, the way out. A lot of our parents and family like older than us don't really understand why we're doing this stuff. Like, oh, this is just stupid, like you're not gonna make anything off this, or you're not gonna be famous or whatever, because they just didn't have the opportunity themselves, right? They didn't have the opportunity to create like we do. And so maybe a lot of parents and stuff don't see it like that. And like content creation and influencing, like those weren't even really words back when our parents were growing up. It was really rare for somebody to have extreme amounts of like power and wealth. But regardless if your parents help or not, or regardless if people are believing in you, obviously you can make an impact. If you have a following of 100 people, have you ever seen 100 people in a room? 100 people in a room is a lot of people, and you've probably seen that before. But just if you're posting like inspirational quotes, or you're spreading good vibes, good positivity, don't worry so much about how many people you're influencing. Just worry about what you're influencing, because no matter the size of people you're influencing, it will grow, right? It will, if you trust in the process and if you're doing things right, whatever you're trying to spread will grow, and that'll bring you whatever you want in life. That'll bring you the power, the fame, if you want all that stuff. But most importantly, it'll bring you happiness, right? Like if you're spreading these good messages to everybody that you know, and you're doing what you set yourself out to do, that's good vibes. That's positive stuff right there. That's good stuff. Yeah, even if your parents don't believe it, even if people around you don't believe in what you're trying to do, obviously it's possible. We have hundreds of examples in this generation alone of people who have made it out of horrible situations. It's a little bit of our parents' generation and a lot of our generation. So like the Filipino fighter, right? And growing up though, he said he was like dirt poor, like didn't have food a lot of the time. His mom was always struggling. And look where this dude is at right now, making millions of dollars. And he did that through like his branding, through boxing, through all these crazy things that probably were never seen possible before. His people like didn't really see an outlet for that. But then we got people like Bruno Mars doing it too. People in our generation like Mr. Beast. Just so many people. You see so many large scale examples, and there's probably small creators that you also watch and are inspired by too. Don't take people's negative comments or hatred into consideration. Like leave it behind. They're living in the past. What's happening right now is change. Everyone has the ability to take their phone, record a TikTok about a positive message, and have it go viral. Everyone has that capability, right? If you know the algorithm a little bit and you are set on trying to make a change in this life right now and make a change for future generations, you can easily do that. You can make a YouTube video on your phone. You can do anything and change people. And just don't be discouraged by less people not knowing you exist at the moment, because regardless, an impact is still an impact. No matter who's it on, an impact is an impact, and that'll always be the foundation, the most important part of anything. But of course, you know, with all the good things that came from our generation and how strong and amazing and powerful we are, you know, there's some bad things. All right, I'm not gonna lie. Anytime anything in the world goes on, meme instantly dropped. There's like hundreds of memes about it, right? People just are so desensitized in this generation, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Like you guys know the examples. All right, you guys know horrible memes are being made right now, and like our generation is so desensitized after all this like years of movies and radio and videos on YouTube and everything that's been just fed to us since we were born. We've gotten desensitized to a lot of bad things in this world, right? Like you could watch a movie about John Wick 4 stabbing people, shooting people, but you're not going to go out and do it, obviously. But just the fact that we can watch that and we're so desensitized to it is definitely a bad thing, I would say. Because I remember on the news, like definitely like 7 or 8 years ago, there was that kid that was like 7 to 9 years old, somewhere around there. And he was a big GTA 5 fan. He took his mom's car one day because he just really wanted to run away or do something. I just feel like I'll get 5 stars in real life. So he took his mom's car and he started driving it. And he was so desensitized to GTA 5 and everything. He was such a little kid too, and that would have never been acceptable like way before, and it's not acceptable right now either. But just the fact that we can do that because we're so desensitized to everything is crazy. And that's also causing us to grow up really fast too, right? If we're getting exposed to all this sexual content in the media, all this violence in the media, then we already know what's happening in the world at a younger age. Like, we don't need those sex ed classes anymore. Like, we know online, like, we know what's going on. At what age is it right for us to know all this stuff? Is there an age? We're going into the unknown right now, so there's a lot of things that we aren't certain of, and we don't have like set restrictions and rules on. Like AI making stickers, like what if you get copyright for that? Who made that sticker originally? Like, there's no way AI is just creating all these amazing things on its own. It has to be like taking from certain people's stuff already, right? But yeah, people are growing up extremely fast, and they're also just getting so much influence from the media. Like I was saying earlier, there's also that bad influence, right? And that can be political, that can be mental, like the Momo challenge that I was telling little kids to, off themselves, or people's minds being convinced that something's true, like flat earthers. If you're a flat earther, get off my channel right now. So many bad influences on us are possible because of that large scale of media now. And that really can take people's opinions and convert it to like an army of bad things. Like, we can make people believe that giraffes can fly. Like, you seriously could, honestly, if you really tried.
You weird, buddy. You're weird.
Just you being you, people will follow. And that's led to some really bad things recently. People like creating bad influences in life, and people not fully knowing how things work yet. If you're just a little kid, obviously, if you see something online and your parents haven't told you about it yet, well, you're going to believe what's online, right? Because that's what you've grown to know is true. And you're not going to see like people debunking it probably. You're just going to take it at face value because you're young. You don't know anything better. So that's also teaching kids a lot of bad things, because now the generation coming up is hearing Skibbity Toilet, Ohio, Rizzler, all these stupid memes. That's what they're growing up with right now, and Coco Melon, and just like all these things that maybe aren't so good for our children or people coming up in this next generation, and even us too. Like, we got severely impacted by just no regulations online and all this horrible stuff. And that's creating a lot of iPad kids too. I know multiple iPad kids. I'm not going to say their names, not going to air them out. I know one in specific that if you take him anywhere, iPad coming with him no matter what. All right, he's bringing his hot Cheetos, he's bringing his iPad and Capri Suns. 3 things, those are 3 essentials for that kid, right? He's bringing it everywhere he goes. And if you don't have that, he's crying. He's throwing tantrums. He's hating life right then and there, right? Because that's what he's grown up to know, right? It's not his fault, obviously. Like, he's just grown up to know that. In a sense, it could be his fault because, like, if you're doing what you're being told not to do, then okay, that's a little on you. But he's so young. This upcoming generation and our generation is so young that, like, growing up with this stuff, this new technology and all that, how do we regulate it? Like, how is that even possible? And so a lot of parents don't regulate it, or a lot of people just let it happen, which is definitely not a good thing either, right? You want your kids to get good influences if they're going to be online. We want us specifically also to be blocking out hate and getting only positive messages. The media has made it easier to do that, but also it's made it harder to do that. And even right now, like, a lot of side effects of the media are unknown. I think there's studies being done about how AirPods and like these crazy headphones are hurting our ears way more than any other generation before, right? Because before, you still had concerts, you had loud bass speakers and all that stuff. That wasn't easily accessible. Like, not everybody's going to go deaf, but now, you have AirPods? All right, well, turn that up all the way one day. You start listening to it like that. Okay, well, AirPods are a little too quiet now, so maybe you need something else to bring up that hearing level a little bit. So you get some headphones. All right, you put the headphones to max. It's still a little too quiet now because you're gotten so used to and started ruining your hearing. Like, you go to a concert. Okay, the concert's too quiet. Let me get front row seats. It just is a cycle, right? They're studying that right now. Like, how's that affecting our future hearing? And also with our eyeballs too, like staring at blue light for too long. Blue light really didn't exist before computers. Like, we didn't have a way to truly make that. But now it's so accessible to everybody that there's definitely some serious harm that's being done because of it, right? Like losing vision and stuff. There's plenty other side effects that we don't know of right now as well. Pornhub also isn't supposed to be meant for us. We create dopamine. Our body always creates dopamine. And some dopamine is good and some dopamine is bad. So for example, working out that produces good dopamine, right? You're creating good dopamine, you're getting good energy from working out, creating muscle. All right, but what happens when you're staring at TikTok and scrolling up and doom scrolling, right? That creates bad dopamine. That creates a sense of instant gratification. Like, we deserve everything right this second. Like, why, if you don't get something, why do I not have it? That's making a lot of people also give up in this generation, in this life. I'm pretty sure this generation now is having way more offings of themselves than any generation before, which is definitely amplified by the media, by effects of like instant gratification. Why am I not getting this right now? Man, I give up. This is too hard. And seeing things not how it really is, like seeing false realities. That's really happens off like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. All those platforms can give people a really big sense of false reality. That all creates bad dopamine in our bodies, and that creates us to be lazier people, creates us to do bad things. It creates us to be addicted to things that we're not supposed to be, like blue light and all these other horrible things for us. So studies are still being done, altering our brain chemistry a lot with this new technology we're getting. Like, we don't know the effects of it. We're just always pushing forward. And low-key, we're creating a really lazy generation too. People can just sit at home like me and edit videos and do nothing. Like, we're contributing to the world in a sense of maybe emotional and mental well-being, but physically contributing to the world, we're not doing a whole lot. We're not saving people's lives medically or all that stuff. And not saying that's like a horrible thing either, but this generation, it's getting pretty lazy, it's getting pretty lazy. We don't need to go cook our own food. We can go on like Blue Apron, or we can go on HelloFresh. We can order meals straight to our house, and then we could just put them in the oven and boom, it's done. And you know what's probably going to happen in the future? We could just have meals airdropped to us. Boom. Nah, I'm just kidding, but hold up, I gotta sneeze. I didn't need to sneeze. I don't know why I did that. It's creating a really lazy generation of just people who are so unmotivated. That kind of goes back to like the doom scrolling on TikTok and super high bad dopamine levels and instant gratification. But it also lowers our attention spans. And you could easily see this on so many different studies or graphs or anything. Like, people could easily sit down and have hour-long conversations or watch movies really efficiently. But now, with the advancements and shortness of social media and the access to it, we just instantly want to see another video. We just instantly are expecting things to happen like that. Like, we're just so used to things happening fast and not having to wait for anything in life, which is definitely a bad thing though. Another example I just came up with is my camera right here just decided to die on me. That makes me think though that a lot of like media consumption and all this stuff we have in our first world countries, it makes us really ungrateful for things. You come home every night to a bed, to a house, hopefully, to food made for you, all these good things, right? But do we think about that? No, it's so first nature to us that we just put it to the side and we just don't care about it. When there's people that don't have houses, people that don't have food, they don't have water, they don't have any of this stuff, yet we just forget to be so appreciative of what we have right now. Like, I'm obviously so thankful that I can rent out this room, I can rent out this camera, I can rent out this tripod, I can rent out everything that I have right here in order to make this thing, in order to inspire people. But yet there's people that have no access to any of this stuff right here. And I just, like, right now, obviously I was like, oh, my stupid camera. But then I was like, okay, well, at least you have that camera over there. At least you have this room rented out. At least you have some footage already made. There's like all these good things still, but people that don't think like that are just very unappreciative and very ungrateful and very obsessive of what they want. It sucks that we don't look back on a lot, or we don't appreciate enough sometimes, which is good that Thanksgiving's coming up, because that will hopefully bring back some remembering of like what we have, but it won't do that for everyone, obviously. That's just another thing that media has done to a lot of us, and it's a bad thing, obviously, still. And we can work on fixing that. We can work on all these problems that we have. It's not like it's going to be set like this forever. We can always work on being more appreciative and remembering other people that don't have as access to this stuff. That's like empathy, it should be first nature to us, but sometimes it's second nature. We have to think about it before we appreciate. But it's also causing us to spread a lot of bad messages too, right? There's a lot of good messages out there, like Mr. Beast is a really good example of that. Always spreading out this positive energy and making really good content for us to consume. But then there's really bad people on the internet too, like J Station, oh my gosh, if you don't know about J Station, this dude is so goofy. I remember watching a video about him a few years ago. He's not as popular anymore. Maybe he's not even on YouTube anymore. Let me tell you guys. All right, this dude, J Station. At the time when I saw him, he had already 5 or 6 million subscribers on YouTube. So he had a really good following. He had good standing already. But once you actually look at his content, oh my, that stuff was trash, bro. That stuff was trash. It was all like brain rot for kids. So I'll give you an example of a piece of content he made. He used to make content about like his girlfriend at 3 a.m. He's like, don't call the boogeyman at 3 a.m. with your girlfriend, gone wrong. You know, like those popular 2016 videos. He was spreading this horrible message because he would always treat his girlfriend like really bad in the videos, and he would always spread really bad messages, even though it was directed at kids and it seemed happy and it just seemed like jokes. It really wasn't. Like, what he was spreading was actually bad. Because behind closed doors, after the camera shut off, he was apparently like abusive to his girlfriend, and he was just not a really nice person. And there was a point, his girlfriend obviously wanted to break up with him. Like, why would you don't want to be with that guy? He's abusing you. He's not being a good person. And so what he did was, on his YouTube channel, he made a video that was like, my girlfriend's dead. And in like the first minute of the video, he's like trying to cry, but then he's like, guys, please go subscribe to my channel, right? We need to bring all the subscribers together to pray for her. He went to like a fake burial site, and all this stuff happened. And obviously his girlfriend comes out like, I'm not dead, but I'm literally right here. And so he finally got exposed after that. A lot of people started catching on, but that was just a really bad message to all the kids that were listening before. Like, Jake Dorothy, bro, I hate that dude. I hate this dude. So he's made some videos about more fun ideas, I guess. Like, can I do this challenge in a certain amount of time? Where he started really seeing success was whenever he started using girls on his thumbnails for clickbait, and he started doing all these stupid like frat boy type activities. He also made some videos with the Island Boys too, which really got him clouded. But he was basically just like, hey, why do you kiss your brother? Hey, why do you do all these things? And he was making fun of them. And the Island Boys pull out like guns on him and stuff in the videos. I'm not sure if it's real or not, but that's what happens. And that's how he gets that's where he gets his content from, which is really stupid. But he also like uses a lot of girls in his thumbnail. He does a lot of like douchey things. And I don't support whatever he's doing. I've seen a lot of people trying to expose him, but those are just like examples of how media can be a bad influence on people too. So as long as we know what to pick out, what's right and wrong, let's say for example like fake news, if you know the news stations that are actually giving out good, positive, real news, then you listen to those. But if you're listening to like fake news stations, then you're gonna get all this horrible fake news that doesn't really apply to the real world, right? They're just trying to get you to do something for them. That's the same thing that's happening on platforms like YouTube and TikTok. All these influencers are getting a lot of power for horrible reasons, and that's obviously not good because a lot of kids don't know that yet. They're just being sucked into what they see. I know, like, personally for me, some stereotype I used to have when I was younger, I think this was caused by like the media or some cartoons or something. But I remember my mom told me, my mom had a friend when we used to live in California, and her friend apparently had a job, which I didn't know at the time. I was like 5 years old and I didn't really care. But I remember one day I was like, we go to her son's house? Because she had a son around the same time as my mom. That's why they were friends. So I was friends with this kid named Kevin. All right, I wanted to go to Kevin's house. So I was like, can we go over to Kevin's house? And my mom was like, no, like the mom works. Like she has a job. I was like, that's what? Women can't work. Like women can't have jobs. And my mom was like, no, what? Yes, they can. I have a job. And I guess that's like something bad that was put on me by media. And there's probably a lot of things that you guys have seen on the media that you fell for, like scams or anything like that. I think at the end of the day, though, there's always going to be more good in the world than bad. There's always going to be more positive than negative. And even though it doesn't seem like that, there is. And you want to know why? The influencers that have the most amount of power in the world right now, that have the most following, that have all these things are positive influencers, right? We got Mr. Beast, 200 million. We got Dixie D'Amelio, 100-something million. And we have our bad, or we have our not so good like leaders like North Korea. We have all those people. Not saying names, I don't want to get caught lacking out here, but we have all these negative influences that have millions of people in control too. But Who's always going to win? Oh, the good guys are going to win. You know, you see it in all the media. You see it in all the movies ever. If it seems like there's more evil in the world, that's because you're looking for more evil in the world. The side of Instagram, the side of everything I'm on is all positive stuff, right? Like, I'm always looking to see positive stuff. So if I'm looking for that, then I'm going to see what I'm trying to look for. But if you're looking at all these negative things on Instagram and you're liking them and you're just interacting with it, then you're going to keep seeing negative things. That's going to make the world seem more negative. When in reality, there's so many positive things to look at rather than negative things in the world. It's all about your perception on it. It's all about your mindset on it. But there's always more positive things that you can be looking at too. Not saying there's never going to be something bad happening, but if we want to feel better about ourselves and we want to have some positive impact on our lives, we can search for that. We can look at positive things. We don't always have to be sucked into all this negative media. So now changing the world isn't just limited to political leaders, to people with wealth, well-respected like kings and queens. It's not limited to just them now. It's available for everybody, really. Like, you can get on a baby ad when you're a baby, and you can probably get some clout off that later on in life. The Pampers babies, whenever they grow up, they're probably getting mad bank. They're probably getting mad clout because they can use whatever they've had before into their future. And a more realistic example, though, anyone can pick up their phone and record a video and go viral, right? You can create an influence just like that. You can create Discord servers to connect with people. You can create Instagram group chats and invite people. You can hop on YouTube comments and connect with all the YouTubers that you want to. This world is so connected now. And that's another thing that brings us power, right? We got clout, money, and connections too. Also a very important thing, or being connected with people. We're not secluded anymore. We can all create things together across countries, across continents, across different knowledge gaps, anything like that. We can learn to create with each other and create even stronger things. Probably like 200 years ago, a lot of people were like, oh, you're crazy. The earth is flat. Like, we can't get out of this planet. And now look what we've done. We've taken people to the moon. We're going to take people to Mars. And just imagine what that's going to be like 100 years from now, right? Now I want to talk about the future, because our generation's great and all, but what about future generations? I don't know what they're going to be called. Maybe like Elon Musk's baby X Ash 12 or whatever his name is, but they're going to be called something weird like that. Just imagine how future generations are going to be like. We think we have it hard right now. Like, we have lag going on when we play on the internet. We can't get to the moon readily availably to everybody. But 100 years from now, man, you can get to the moon in like a week and back. Easy. Everyone can do it by then, maybe. But it's going to be that exponential growth chart. We're going to come back to that, right? We're going to just keep on going up from wherever we're at right now. And it's going to be even more growth. I'm trying to think right now, what are the craziest things that could be possible in the next 100 years? Like, that maybe we could see in our lifetimes too. Because I'm hoping I make it to the 22nd century. That would be fire, bro. That would be so cool to make it to 2100. And just imagine what life would be like by then. I think that farms are going to be stacked vertically, like super high up. And instead of like all this land horizontally, it's going to be like, we're going to make our own artificial dirts and plants that go up higher. And we're going to replace a lot more meat with like vegan stuff probably because of that too. I also think there's going to be a lot more like deforestation and a lot less like wildlife and stuff. Like, humans are going to need to colonize more areas and take over more territories. I think people are going to start living in Antarctica next 100 years. Just due to how global warming is right now and how Antarctica is breaking off slowly and becoming a more warm area. I think people are going to be able to live in that area like 100 years from now. It won't be like significantly changed probably, but people will probably have the technology to survive in like negative 100-degree weather and stuff like that. Technologically, I think we're gonna be able to have like holograms, like all the movies already have, actual flying cars, like hoverboards. I think we're gonna be able to have all this stuff that seems really hard for us to do right now, but now we know it's not possible. And that's another crazy thing too, is like in the past, okay, flying, impossible. Someone created a plane, boom, everyone believes we can fly now. That happens with everything in life. We believe that basically anything's possible. Like, we've seen the past grow so much that we can truly believe anything's possible. And really anything is possible. I believe one day that we're going to fly out of this planet and we're going to make a new colonized planet, because we're going to run out of space here eventually, right? Like, this growth's got to stop eventually. And I think that we're going to be able to do that. We have to be able to do that before this planet ends if we want to keep our life going for however long the universe is gonna last for, right? We're gonna have to find another planet or a way to survive on this one without being swallowed by the sun or hit by meteorites or mass extinction events. You know, we're gonna have to find and make new technologies for that. So we're always gonna be striving for better and better things. There's no way you can be satisfied with something. There's no way you can be satisfied with something once you're sucked into it. For example, all right, I guess let's put it in my terms, right? I see all these famous YouTubers making lots of money, making lots of power and influence in the world. I don't really care as much about the money, but I just want to make a positive influence on so many people. I'm jealous of them, obviously. Like, I want to have that, but I know one day that I will. But I'm not going to stop until I see that. And you know what's going to happen when I see that? Okay, well, I'm going to see Mr. Beast. Well, let me get to Mr. Beast level. Okay, after that, well, there's probably going to be someone ahead of that, so let me get to that. It's just this endless cycle of once you have it, you always want more. And that's what kind of money is to us too. Like, we always want more of it. We're never satisfied with what we have. But people that have gone and just gone off the grid, like no technology, gone back to living in the wilderness, they're content with life. Going out, killing animals, cooking food, sleeping, enjoying life. No money, no like desires to do anything else but just survive, like our true bare instincts. If you have life like that, I think it's possible to not want to achieve anything more, just live a simple life. And I think that's people who have 9-to-5s too. Like, your life is so steady and scheduled and you have so much control in your life. But when we want things that are constantly evolving and have infinite possibilities, like what I'm trying to do right now, well, that's never going to stop growing. Because, okay, what if we can do this next? What if we can do this next? But if you're a hunter and gatherer, your life is simple. All you got to do is just hunt, eat, sleep, repeat. That should be a shirt right there, actually.
Nope.
But that's all you got to do. It's just going to be harder to feel more content with whatever we're doing in life the further and further we get and the more money we need in our economies and stuff. And I try to act so smart on this podcast, but I don't really know what the economy and political or anything like that stuff is. I just know about my mental, emotional, and physical being. That's all I know right now. I think for me personally, though, the media has had the positive and negative aspects of it. In the first episode, I was talking about how the media influenced me a little bit, but I didn't go into everything, obviously, because that's a lot of time to cover. Creating a hobby for me to look forward to and give myself passion, and whenever I was growing up, I could play video games and feel content with that, right? Like, I found my calling. I found something that actually was important to me and made me feel happy. And that's always what we want, right? We want something to make us happy. As long as we're not hurting anybody else, right? We're fine doing whatever makes us feel happy, right? I think stuff like video games have obviously had their good moments, but had their bad moments. And like social media itself, like Instagram and all that stuff, I didn't really have access to it until I was 13. The only thing I had before that was YouTube. That was also a good thing for me, because what am I doing right now? I'm creating content on YouTube to make a future career and learning all these management and entrepreneurial skills. Is that a word? I don't know. I'm learning all these things that I always aspired to do whenever I was younger. So in that sense, it was good too. But there's also been bad times with YouTube as well. Like, there's one time where I was playing Minecraft. I remember in the chat, some dude put this link. He was like, click on this, ha ha ha, funny video or something stupid like that. I was like, okay. Move my trackpad up, click on it, and then you know what happens? Like, the Exorcist girl is just screaming in my face, flashing. I just start bawling. My mom comes over and then she shuts the screen off or whatever. Obviously, I've had that's for video games. I'm sorry, but that's also YouTube too. Like, I've had bad experiences with video games and YouTube like that. Made me scarred a little bit. I'm not scared of it anymore, but that impact you can have on anybody in that bad way definitely impacted me too. But it also is extremely positive because I found something I'm really passionate about, something that I love doing. That was just the start of my ambitions. Like, ever since I was 5 or 6, I was seeing people on playing games like Super Mario Sunshine. I used to watch a lot by this dude, Nintendo Capri Sun. And I watched a channel called Versus. I used to watch like the OG Sky Does Minecraft, Bajan Canadian, Jerome ASF, like all these Minecraft YouTubers too. And that made me want to do content. Like, I want to make my own videos. I want to do my own thing. Like, heck yeah, what the heck? They're making Minecraft videos and making money. That sounds amazing to me. And that has never stopped sounding amazing to me. Like, if I could sit up in my room, play Minecraft, have enough money to make food and still enjoy life, like go outside, hang out with friends, that's ideal life. Like, who wouldn't want that, right? But I've also found more passions along the time with more media outlets, like podcasting, for example. I didn't even really care about until earlier in this year. So that's something very recent for me. But I also started doing more vlog style content. I used to watch like Jake Paul, Logan Paul, all those old vloggers, and we don't talk about what Logan Paul did back in the day, but I used to watch all them and not really had a passion for vlogging. I guess it came back a little bit more whenever I started watching Steezy Kane a little bit. Oh, it came back whenever I started watching Steezy Kane, like Balin Levine, Ricky, Jadeon, all these prank YouTubers. I kind of wanted to do that a little bit, but I'm kind of finding my own way instead of just copying whatever they're doing. And I'm incorporating little bits of everything I learn along the way, which is very important too. And I'm making it all into one big scheme of like my media and my branding and my ultimate passion, right? Because the more things I find that I'm passionate about, I want to do them all. So recently I got into like making beats. Like I want to make beats on BandLab. Now I want to run my own Discord server, which is what I've been doing. Link in the description. You guys should definitely go check it out. First 1,000 people to join, get the OG member role. I've been doing that too. We also just hit 100 members. That's fire. Thank you guys so much for joining if you joined. But I want that to be another outlet where I can connect to people. I want to run that server, do my own thing. But then I also want to create content for my main YouTube channel where I do vlogs, I do gaming, I do like Q&A, I do all the different types of content I've seen over the years, put it in one channel. And I guess that's a little hard to do just because how the algorithm works, but that is something I'm so passionate about, like all those different concepts, that I just want to put it on one channel. I don't want to have separate channels for now, at least. Just grow an audience of like college students who are looking for somebody to relate to that has similar interests, I guess is my main goal for this channel, for my other channel. And then I also run like my Instagram account. I also run the Twitter account. I also run TikTok account. I also use YouTube Shorts clips. Those are all other media outlets I've seen in the past few years that have made me want to do them. And I've tried so many jobs. I've tried 5 different fast food jobs. We got Whataburger, Wingstop, Wendy's, In-N-Out. Oh, I guess it's 4 then. But anyway, I've tried a lot of different jobs, and I've worked as a roving umpire, tennis line judge, and that one's pretty cool too. But like, obviously, it's not what I want to do for a career. And the only thing I've ever seen so far, after like all this time in high school, reading about different career paths, and all this time in college now of learning how many different career paths there are, all I want to do is just work for myself, make my own content, inspire people, make people happy, and make money. And you know what checks out all those boxes is what I'm doing right now. It's the new wave that we all got to get on, right? If you want to get to these things in life the quickest and have the most amount of impact in life, like this, I'm trying to do this stuff. This is what I'm trying to aim for. But I also want to do things in the future too. Like I want to create my own documentary / movie / short film. I think it would be so cool because I'm barely learning more about photography. I joined a photography club here at my college, and that has really inspired me to want to get more into like videography and recording more vlogs for my YouTube channel and making a documentary eventually. Like once I learn all these different techniques, that's why this camera is probably different than that camera and like their quality or whatever, but I'm just learning along the way, and I'm so passionate about all these different things, right? I want to make my own documentary now. I want to do more photography skills. I want to become a better like vlogger / filmer. And then I want to do like these crazier things, right? I want to make my own clothing company. I already have the idea. I'm not going to say it though. I'm not trying to have anyone steal it, but I want to make my own clothing company. Let me know if you guys would buy, by the way. All right, I might start it soon. Might just start something simple, something easy like hats. But yeah, I want to get more into like graphic designing then too. There's like so many passions I have just because there's so many different unique creative aspects in the world right now that I'm just so passionate about. It's so cool to see all these different things. And it's cool that whoever is listening right now, you're along for the journey. And I appreciate all of you because you're going to see me grow to wanting all these things to having all these things. And I know I will get all these things. I'm believing more in manifestation, and I'm trying to manifest more things into my life. And obviously I'm not amazing at it right now because it's hard to like get all your energy in one place at the start. And it seems like a crazy idea that you can just manifest anything you want. But from everyone I've seen in this generation, a lot of them are like, I used to pray for this, or I used to do all this. Not saying I pray or whatever, but I used to do all this. I used to believe I could do it, and I eventually did it. And I have examples of that too, because I owned an old YouTube channel that hit 100,000 views on a long form video, got thousands of subscribers, and all this extra stuff got me money too. And I know it's possible. So I have such big ambitions in life. Trying to think of what else. Yeah, I want to start that clothing company. I want to write a book too. Writing a book seems so cool. I like to read, and I want to write my own book one day, illustrate my own book. I want to do all that stuff, like just all these media outlets that can be used to inspire. Like I want to do all of that. So make music, create merchandise, create videos more, create podcasting, create all this stuff is going to lead to one big influence, and hopefully it's a positive one. I know it will be positive because it's me. I'm a positive guy. So if you're to take anything from this podcast, I really hope that you get out of it that this generation is super powerful. Regardless if you're born in Generation Z or you're living right now, if you're listening to this, you can make an impact by doing the littlest things and on the smallest amount of people, but an impact is still an impact. And what I'm doing right now is impacting certain people and making them inspired to do things, and I'm content with that. Obviously, I want more. Right now, what I have, it makes me content, and I'm happy that I can do what I can do for the people that are listening and watching right now. If you guys want to support the dream, if you guys want to support my missions, my goals, keep in mind, I do everything by myself. I edit my YouTube videos, I create the thumbnails, I record the podcast on my main channel. I record sometimes, I have people help me, but I record, I make the thumbnails, I edit on my social medias. Okay, I make the clips, I edit, I run the business, I run the medias. All right. And for music, I'm trying to make my own beats. Everything I do right now, photography, I do on my own. Everything I do on my own. I like doing it like that. Eventually, though, how capitalism works, you gotta start automating your systems eventually. But that's when I'm gonna put all my boys on, all my friends on. We're about to get into this together. They can help me run my Discord server and run my Minecraft server. I want to start a Minecraft server too, by the way. If you're interested, let me know. Big ambitions in life are definitely possible with the power that Generation Z has. And with that, good night.